You are listening to the Solar Panel, the Phoenix Suns Show.
Hello and welcome to the Solar Panel. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our Saturday morning live edition on YouTube. We appreciate you all being here and being with us today. I'm here with my partner, as always, Zona Hoops. How you doing?
Doing well. Excited for some playoff football and good time to talk about the Suns here at the halfway point and kind of recap the season to this point. So excited to get into it.
You're not going to cop to why we're starting at 8:15 instead of 8 o'clock this morning?
Yeah. Phone died.
Take the L,
so yeah, I'll take the L. Phone died, and so I got to sleep in a little bit longer. That was nice, but yeah, that's my bad.
All right. Well, we have a guest this morning. Not a newsbreaker, quite like Jake Fischer the other day, who we're going to be recapping, but a huge Suns fan, big time guy on our YouTube stream, always there in the chat, and has been a multiple time guest, one of the best friends of the show. We got Jake Brongera, aka Coach Fallen Founder. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great. I am not that excited about playoff football because my team didn't make it. So this is all I have now.
It seems like all NFL teams made it. What do you mean?
I'm a sad New Orleans Saints fan actually, but yeah. So watching all the Suns games I can now. That's going to be me until at least next September. Was it? No.
Yeah, the New Orleans Saints did not quite have a great replacement plan for Drew Brees when he faded out, did they?
Not at all.
Well, my team is in it, the Arizona Cardinals. Whether they're in it beyond Monday is a big question. I don't know if they're going to make it beyond the Rams on Monday, but if there was a winnable game in the first round of the playoffs, to me. And this is not a football show, so we're going to stop. Don't worry, Suns fans. We're going to talk about the Suns here real quick. But if there was a winnable football game for this Arizona Cardinals team, it's against the Rams on the road because the Cardinals were almost undefeated on the road this year. They're just terrible at home. So I guess they maneuvered never to have a home game in these playoffs because they never will have a home game in these playoffs unless something incredibly weird happens. And so they're hoping to just play the entire playoffs on the road, and we get to watch them on TV. So that'll be good.
Yeah, and we gotta wait till Monday. So that's
we gotta wait till Monday.
But, oh well.
But hey, they're prime time, man. If only the game could be relocated to AT&T Stadium in Dallas, I'd feel even better. Because Kyler Murray has never lost there. He's from Texas, and that's just about the only time they've won in the past month and a half. So anyway, this is not a Suns podcast. This is not a Cardinals podcast. This is a Suns podcast. So let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns just happen to be halfway through their season, 21-22 season, 41 games in exactly as of today. And they have, by a 2-game margin, the best record in the entire league at 32-9. You guys have joined this solar panel in the heyday of the Phoenix Suns. So you can't even commiserate with me on dealing with a 9-32 team at the halfway point and trying to find the positives. Now we're trying to find negatives on these guys. It's almost impossible. But we are going to delve into that a little bit. We are going to recap this past week. We're going to go into what have we seen in these Suns that we didn't expect to see in the first 41 games. Second quarter, we're going to recap the rumor mill with Jake Fischer. We had him from Bleacher Report on the midweek episode. If you didn't catch that on the audio, you better go back and catch it because he dropped a lot of nuggets about the league in general and about the Suns. Third quarter, we're going to do some true false. And fourth quarter, we're going to preview the upcoming games. So this is going to be a fun day here. So I'm going to stop talking in just a sec. I'm going to let you guys talk. My question to you, and we'll start with Zona, is Now that we're 41 games in, the Suns have a 32-9 record, best record in the league by 2 games. What have you learned about this team that you didn't know or didn't expect 41 games ago?
I would say I'm not surprised that they are where they are. Like, this is a very deep team that brought back pretty much their entire core from a finals run. So I would say just the one thing I learned would just be just how focused and how pissed off they still are, I think, from the falling short of the finals, because, some teams will have that hangover the next year, like at least early on, where they kind of start slow. And this team just hit the ground running. Obviously they had the 1-3 start, but after that just really took off. So it just kind of shows the resilience, and just, you got to give a lot of credit to Monty Williams, just James Jones, for building this culture. And just the depth and just next man up has been fun to watch. Like, they, even through like hopefully, knock on wood, the toughest part of COVID for them, they still found ways to win games and brought guys in and just plug and play. And just a very resilient team is probably the best way to kind of put it.
What about you, Jake?
To me, that's pretty spot on, actually. I mean, Monty Williams, his style of coaching, his style of management, of kind of that mentor, that kind of calming force. You see it sometimes work like a one-hit wonder, I think, in the league, where it's like, oh, this guy, the players really connect with him. But then the next year, there's that player that's like, hey, I thought you were listening to me, but you're still not playing me at all. And I was a little bit worried, Ayton not having his contract, Landry Shamet getting a bigger contract, McHale getting a bigger contract. Was that going to upset the dynamic at all? And it seems like this team still has fun. It seems like this team is still bonded. When Coach Monty was out with COVID, I mean, they were still, like, you saw that kind of disruption. They still want that leader, coaching them through the sidelines, and just the players just seem to still enjoy being around each other, which I was there watching from afar, watching the podcast when the team was usually only winning 9 or so games a season, and they did not look like they were having any fun at all next to each other. I mean, these guys are, dancing next to each other during warm-ups, so they're having a good time. If you follow them on social media, they're having fun with each other. And, if you still follow some of those former Suns, I think Dragon Bender is somewhere in Europe, and some of these other players that we were really hoping just needed a few more years of seasoning. They're not even in the league. So it's just exciting.
There's a 10th man, I think, even in Europe.
He just needs a few more years in the European League, right?
Oh, man.
That's a good point, though. You reminded me of did anyone, I don't know if you guys caught the Instagram live for Booker yesterday.
No.
That was awesome. I didn't catch it live, but someone posted it on Twitter, like the full YouTube video, but it was basically him just, making fun of Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and McGee for being vegan. And like they were chirping back about his steak still being alive. And then I guess some kid was talking trash to Chris Paul all game. And he said, I'm going to stick my son on you if you keep talking. Like, yeah. So there's a lot of funny, like, I'd recommend going to check that out. I'll send you guys a link later, but that was a really funny live. And just
if you can put the link in the chat, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see it either. I did get to see, and look, I'm not as technically savvy as I probably could be, but I did get to see Devin Booker's comments after the game when people were asking him about his whole dust up with the mascot this past week. So Kellen Olson, I think it was Kellen who asked him, "What's your take on after?" If you guys during one of the games this week, 32, there was only 6.5 seconds left in the game. The Suns were up only 1. Devin Booker was at the free throw line to put them up 2 or 3. The Toronto stadium is empty because of COVID concerns. Their only fan, quote unquote fan, is their mascot. And the mascot was jumping up and down behind the backboard trying to distract Booker. Booker made the free throw, but then complained about the mascot doing that. When I don't know the reason he was able to complain. I don't know the reason the refs even listened to him, but the refs asked the mascot to go take a knee over on the side so Booker could shoot his free throws, and he made his second free throw. put the Suns up 3, and then they were able to foul. Booker committed the foul outs on non-shooting fouls, so the Raptors only got to shoot 2 free throws, and the Suns won the game. That won the game for the Suns. But then, of course, Worldwide Wob posted the exchange, and it took on a lot of fire that Booker can't handle big moments. Well, okay, but Booker did make the free throws, and the Suns won the game. But anyway, that he can't handle big moments. Okay, he's also one of the best clutch players in the game, and he's shooting about 70% in the clutch this year. But he can't handle big moments, according to this, and so we got a lot of flack. And then people were dredging up the old, well, that's not Kobe mentality. That's not Mamba mentality. That's Kobe never would have let that happen. Okay, for one thing, Kobe Bryant would complain about everything he could complain about and get an advantage of. That's a winning mentality. Is getting every advantage you can. You can't like Chris Paul's antics and not like that, because I think Devin Booker is actually picking up on Chris Paul's antics. Chris Paul would have done that kind of thing. Sure, a lot of people hate Chris Paul. That's okay. He's still one of the best players in the history of the game. Kobe Bryant, still one of the best players in the history of the game. That all led to Devin Booker, after a couple of days off for the Suns, they finally had a media availability again after their game against Dallas. I'm sorry, Dallas. What am I thinking? Against Indiana on Friday night. And Booker was asked about the whole dust up. And he had a nice rant, but he basically said, look, I have fun on social media. Everyone's great. I love it. I'm on there every day. The only thing that bothers me is people still trying to mention Kobe along with me with this Mamba mentality. I respect Kobe. I'm inspired by Kobe. I'm inspired by Mamba mentality, but I never said I had it or never wanted to be associated with it because that's Kobe's. And I thought that was great. And then he ends with, and those guys talking about Mamba mentality are doing it from their mama's couch. And then he got up and walked away. Oh man, I thought that was great. So you guys got to look for that too. I think it was Kellen Olson, but look up any Suns media on Twitter. They've shared it. I know Dwayne shared it, Dwayne Rankin for sure. Take a look. That is epic.
Oh, the Suns Instagram channel posted it.
That's right.
If I remember right.
No, and the Suns' own Twitter channel posted it. That's right. That's where I first saw it. Yes.
Yeah, it was Kellen that asked the question. So shout out to Kellen.
Yeah, shout out to Kellen. He knows how to get those guys to talk. He's been in every single press conference with them for years, and he asked the questions in the way that gets guys actually giving good answers. So big props to Kellen for getting those guys to be able to talk, and that was fun watching him have that reaction. That was really, really good.
Well, Dave, I wanted to jump in though real quick. I'm glad that you pointed it out because I had no idea it was even a thing that mascots can't dance and try and distract.
I don't think it is a thing that they can't, because I've seen the gorilla doing it forever.
Right.
10,000 people behind the backboard.
You try to do like the wave and get everyone to make noise. Yeah. And the mascot is like leading it. But this one is like, hey, that one guy is making noise. And they're like, go sit down. Your arena shut down. No fans here. You go.
Well, immediately after that game, Booker was joking that, hey, it worked. You know, so I'm not sure if that's a rule or not. I feel like it's because it was a team employee doing it,
probably.
But still, I think that's not against the rules for the Raptor to be jumping up and down with his 2-inch vertical to distract Booker. And Booker even made the shots, but you know what? You go for every advantage you can. And he wanted that advantage, and he flustered enough to get it. So whatever, you win the game. It's about winning the game. That's hilarious. So what did I learn in the first 41 games? Thank you for asking. Booker, Devin Booker apparently is incapable. Here's what I learned. Devin Booker apparently is incapable of being a mid-range god and a three-point god in the same season. So his past 3 seasons, he's been one of the best mid-range shooters, right there, free throw line, getting to his shot right around there. Right, he and Chris Paul, mid-range mavens. But Booker was shooting 32, 33, 34% from 3, and was just like, God, if he could just pick up a 3-point shot, he's won 3-point contests before, but he couldn't do it in games. He was at 33% or so. He comes in. He's always not making quite enough threes. And then this year, he's flipped the switch. This year, it's like he went and said, you know what? What's that movie, Brendan Fraser, where he got the 3 wishes from the devil and the devil was Elizabeth Berkley? Is all those years ago? Bedazzled. And he once said that he wanted to be a 7-foot center who could, the best basketball player in the game, wanted to be incredibly, talented and all that and so popular and everything. And so she gave it to him, except she gave him one that couldn't stop sweating, was constantly just drenching in sweat, and had a small 5th leg. I mean, or a 3rd leg, whatever. So something like that, where it's like you get what you ask for sometimes. And I feel like Devin Booker gave him, Devin Booker gave us what we asked for, which is that pull-up 3, that 3. Fine. You want me to make 3s? I'll make 3s. Fine. But I won't make any mid-rangers. So he's actually shooting worse in the mid-range than he has in years. And yet he's over at 40.9% right now on 3s. What do you guys think of that development? Zona.
Yeah. So before the season asked, I actually put out like a question. I was like, if Devin Booker shoots 40% or better from 3, he is blank. And the replies were hilarious because everyone's like, it's 2K. It's a made up world. Like all these sarcastic replies. And now he's doing it. But like you said, I mean, it came with a little bit of a neutralizer for his offense. Like if he was still shooting what he did in the mid-range before, like his numbers would be stupid right now. So hopefully he can figure a way to kind of balance that and put them together. And I think he will. I think he's going to go on a run here soon. Like he typically does this time of year. Once like we're in the January, February, March months is usually his best seasons, or not seasons, part of the season historically. So I think we're going to get one of those stretches, those vintage Booker stretches here soon. So, but yeah, to this point, it's been kind of like we've gotten the 3, but the rest of his game has kind of suffered a little bit in terms of efficiency. So, yeah, it's you can't have it all, I guess.
Thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah, I'll be honest. So it looks like Basketball Reference basically has him shooting 3-pointers at a 7% better clip. And nearly 10% worse on 2-point shots. Overall, his overall field goal percentage is down. I'll be honest, I didn't even notice his 2-point percentage shots were down. Like seeing that 3 ball go in at such a regular clip for him finally was just amazing to see. So like I couldn't even when he has the ball, I still think the shots are going in, even if he is at mid-range. So I guess I'd rather take this, even though his overall shooting is down, because it just I think at any point that the 2 is going to drop, and if he can hold that 3-point percentage, that's going to be great.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to here's my dumb theory. Now, I've always been wrong on this stuff, so I think I realize it's a dumb theory, but shooting Booker puts so much effort into figuring out how to shoot the midi, which is maximum verticality, shake and moves and getting his shot where he wanted it to be. He practices pregame with basically a walking lunge kind of situation where he does a 2 or 3 step lunging, walking lunge, and then he takes his shot when he warms up. He gets his body ready for those mid-rangers because he's got to go from small to tall really quick, because that's how you get separation from your defender vertically. If you're standing tall in the mid-range and then you just try to take a shot, you're going to get blocked. But if you play small and then get big, that's how you get your separation a little bit. That's completely different than a 3-point shot. A 3-point shot it's got to be in rhythm. You're not doing all this crab walking or lunge walking or anything like that to get your 3-point shot. It's totally different. And you're not dribbling left to right or inside out or anything like that. So my theory was always that the 3-point shot was different enough from his mid-range shot, and he didn't practice the 3s. He practiced his midi constantly. We got the midi down perfect. One of the best seasons ever at shooting mid-range the last 2.5 years. but his 3-point shot suffered. Now he focused on his 3-point shot a little bit, and now his middy's suffering because there's got to be perfection on this shooting. Now all he's doing is dropping back down to earth on the mid-range shots. He's just not one of the very best in the game right now until it comes down to the clutch. Chris Paul has had a bad year shooting as well. In fact, he's taken his fewest shots in 10 years, I think, from the field. And DeAndre Ayton has figured out how to make a little jump hook over just about anybody at any time. And so those are some developments that are interesting. And now, of course, you want to think, wow, when Booker and Paul get their shots back, the Suns are going to be unstoppable. Well, what's great is that the Suns are already unstoppable. They're already 32-9. They're already the best clutch team in the league in the first half. They're already they've improved their defense. They're number 2 in defense this year after being 6 or 7 or 8 last year, depending on the point in time. But their offense has actually suffered. Where do you think their offense ranks, Jake, since their 18-game winning streak ended? Where do you think they rank in offense?
I feel like kind of middle of the roadish but maybe 13th,
16th. So
Okay.
Good call, because their offense looks like it's been struggling, right?
Yeah.
Their defense is right at their second, third, depending on the day. But their offense has really struggled, and they're only, quote unquote, winning 2/3 of their games instead of 90% of their games over this time. So I know
Get
it's
it
tough,
together.
right? But here's the thing: since since Christmas, right, when they had the Christmas Day game against the Golden State Warriors, and going forward from there, they lost a lot of time, right? They lost Monty for 4 or 5 games. They lost Ayton for 4 or 5 games. JaVale McGee, Jay Crowder. Earlier in December, they had lost Devin Booker for a couple of weeks because of his hamstring. So since that the 18-game winning streak ended, they haven't had a full team and in shape, a full team until like now. And now Cam Johnson is out with the tweaked ankle. And so the Suns are absorbing losses and people being out, but still winning all their games. I think that's been really fun. So that I wasn't sure what to expect if they lost a lot of time from some of those guys. They certainly haven't lost anything from Chris Paul, though. While he's shooting poorly, taking fewer shots, playing slightly fewer minutes, and doing less in his minutes offensively as far as shot making, he leads the league in assists, and he's one of the best defenders in the league once again. He's one of the top steals guys again. So it's been a great 41 games. In the next 41 games, I hope we don't have to experience losing Chris Paul for a while and seeing what happens. But I feel confident that this team can step up. You guys mentioned, and John Voida in the chat mentioned, Darth Voida in the chat mentioned that the Suns have shown that their system can prop up replacements and make them look good. As we know about the depth at center, you got Bismack Biyombo coming off the street, not playing a game for 8 months, and he gets 16 and 6. You got Jalen Smith coming off the bench, hasn't played in 2 years, basically, any competitive real basketball in 2 years. And he comes in and averages 16 and 10. It's crazy how good these backups can look. And Justin Jackson signed a 10-day contract, and he made a couple of threes in his first game coming in. And he's a guy who doesn't make it. That's his whole career problem, is he doesn't make enough threes for his game. So it's fun watching these guys step in. I've actually not even hated Elfrid Payton lately because he's figured out how to play an off-ball kind of role next to Cam Payne. So it's been an interesting first 41 games. The thing is, last year in the second half, around February 1, the Suns had the best offense in the league until the playoffs. They're looking for the best offense in the league again. Probably once their offense starts clicking, we'll see them cruising even better, but it does seem a little bit like they're struggling. Jake, any other observations from the first half you did not expect to see?
DeAndre Ayton kind of locking in a little bit. There was, of course, that concern that he was just a playoff star. And, a lot of the fans, of course, wanted that big contract to keep him here long term. And we were a little, I think, disappointed when he didn't get it. but I think he's proving. Well, actually, here I'm going to answer this with a question eventually. Here, I think he's proving he deserves it. But my question back to you guys is this: you were just talking about the system, Dave, and this had me a little bit worried for Ayton. And I'm sure you guys thought this too. When you saw Biyombo kind of showing up out of nowhere, doing well. Frank Kaminsky, before he went down, was doing pretty well. JaVale McGee is
31-6 game. Yeah.
Right? McGee doing things that, the Nuggets didn't even know he could do last year, and he's doing it well. Does the system make it so, if you've got a Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Bridges on the court, are your centers just going to be able to be productive? Or is Ayton really showing that skill level of difference that he's worth so much more money than Frank, who's on a minimum contract, Biyombo, who's on a minimum contract? I have no doubt that Ayton's better, but is he max level contract better? That's what I'm almost kind of worried for Ayton about, but I do love the production that we're seeing out of Ayton overall.
Well, here's the thing on that. Zona, go ahead. I'll let you go. I've been talking.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's obviously a positive that all these guys are stepping in and producing, but I think it's also like, it's the regular season and there's a game against like the Hornets or like one game against the Blazers for Frank. And like these things aren't sustainable over like over the course of the season or like a playoff series and stuff like that. And that's where Ayton's value, I think, is going to be measured once again is come playoff time. Like in a 7-game series, you're not going to want to rely on like Bismack Biyombo and Frank Kaminsky and JaVale McGee. Like Ayton's going to be the guy playing 35 plus minutes. So I think he's really like risen to the occasion. Like when they've asked him to, it's great to get the production. Like you said, like their system definitely enhances, I think pretty much any center and any player really, if we're being honest. Just Chris Paul makes everyone better. But I would say, you need that high-end talent, and keeping DeAndre has to be, I think, their core four with including Cam Johnson. Like they got to keep that group together long-term and go from there, because when you try to get too cute or like save money or think you could find value, that's when teams like break up and, potential, I don't want to say dynasties because you have to win a championship to get there, but that's when you can break up what could have been a potential dynasty and just kind of kick yourself years later. So I think, keep these four together and go from there. I'm sure that's what their plan is. And I get what you're saying. It's a good point. It's just, it seems like everything that James Jones has touched has been gold. And it does leave you thinking sometimes, like, what would this team look like if they brought in a different center or something like that. But, I think Ayton's to this point has earned the max, whether it's from Phoenix or someone else.
Yeah, I touched on it in an article on Bright Side of the Sun this week when a rumor floated that the Detroit Pistons might be targeting. Eric Pincus of Bleacher Report commented that the Detroit Pistons are looking to spend big money this summer on a long-term big to pair with Cade Cunningham, their number one pick point guard from this last offseason, and that they might be targeting DeAndre Ayton. So assuming Detroit makes a max offer to Ayton, which is a lower max than the Suns could have offered, and let's say the Suns let him go because of this thinking, Jake, and you're not the only one. Most people are thinking, wow, if I can get 80% of Ayton for a fraction of the cost, I could spend that money somewhere else. So let's pretend the Suns actually let Ayton go. Let's not even talk about trade return for a second. Let's just talk about Ayton being on the Pistons, okay? If you put Ayton on the Pistons, what's he going to put up? If Jeremy Grant can put up 20 and 6 after having a career as basically a Torrey Craig type, then he goes 20 and 6 for 2 straight years. What's Ayton going to put up in Detroit with Cade Cunningham and a future, potential all-star point guard leading him? He's going to be at 25 and 12, 23 and 12. He's going to be a starter in the all-star game on the East. He's going to make guys, what Coach JJM put it, unpopular opinion, the Suns are actually handcuffing Ayton. They're not handcuffing necessarily. I totally get what you're saying, Guy. But what they're doing is they are asking him to sacrifice. Monty Williams mentions it every time he's brought up in a press conference about his scoring and everything. Monty says DeAndre has sacrificed offensively for this team because the team centers around Devin Booker and Chris Paul getting whatever shot they want. And until now, Ayton has not had a way to get whatever shot he wants against whatever defense is being played. And so just like McHale sacrifices potential shots, Cam Johnson sacrifices potential shots, so does DeAndre Ayton, because they can't get whatever shot they want. Jeremy Grant, Long John Silver, is not necessarily a shot creator. I mean, he's a shot creator on the worst team in the league. That's about it. I mean, really, if he was on the Warriors, he would not be a 20 points a game guy. That's all I'm trying to say. But let's just say that Ayton was in Detroit. We would be hating ourselves for having let him go so that we could play Bismack Biyombo.
And one thing I want to bring up too is, like, I feel like Suns fans are a little bit spoiled because, like, we don't remember how truly terrifying it could be to have like a tough center rotation. Like, I have like friends that are fans of other teams just always talking about, like, whether it's like the Knicks or Celtics or whoever else, and like they're like, man, our center rotation is rough. Like, these guys disappear for so long, and like, you know, I think Ayton's taking that step to where it's like you have to appreciate what he's done. And I don't want to get back to those days of like Alex Len and Tyson Chandler, like an aging Tyson Chandler anytime soon. So I say, you know, you just got to swallow the pill, pay him, and hopefully, you know, post CP3, like, you know, which isn't anytime soon, but I think you're going to get a lot of what happened last night where like Booker and Ayton are just kind of taking over offensively like they did last night in different times. So he's definitely sacrificed, but yeah, that's a good question, Jake.
You know, it's also real quick. It's kind of like in football. We started this program talking about the Cardinals going into the playoffs. It's also like in football, where if you find that true linebacker who can be an every down linebacker, not just a run stopper, not just a pass rush guy, but a guy who can play every single down, like an Aaron Donald on defensive line, or someone like a Micah Parsons in Dallas or whatever. That's the guy you pay all the money to, because you never have to mix and match against scheme. And that's DeAndre Ayton for the Suns. You can play Ayton in any lineup. The other team goes real small, Ayton stays in. The other team goes real big, Ayton stays in. On Friday night against the Pacers, 27-12. Against the only thing the Pacers have going for them right now is their two centers. Their two center lineup with Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis, and Ayton ate them up. Okay, enough on Ayton. Let's move on. Let's talk about the trade rumors, and I want to get Jake's opinion because he was not part of our interview with Jake Fischer. If you guys did not pick up Zona and I's interview with Jake Fischer 2 days ago, that's on our audio feed, on the podcast audio feed. Go look for it in whatever podcast app you use. We posted it as audio only. And he went through all of these things he's hearing around the league for the trade deadline, and some of those were about the Suns. So let's talk about some of those rumors. One he said specifically was that the Boston Celtics had reached out a few weeks ago to the Phoenix Suns and said, what do you think about Dennis Schroeder for Jalen Smith? Dennis Schroeder, who had almost gotten an $80 million a year, $80 million total contract from the Lakers, but he turned it down because he wanted more money, more than $20 million a year from the Lakers as a starter. So he plays, he takes a low, he played for little money his first year with the Lakers, then got let go, and now he's playing for only $5 million this year for the Celtics. He's coming off the bench. He had a great year with Chris Paul 2 years ago in Oklahoma City. But coming out of that year, he wanted to be a starter again. Maybe he's learned his lesson. Maybe he knows he comes better off the bench. I'd like to hear your thoughts. What if Jalen Smith was swapped for Dennis Schroeder? Jake?
Yeah, I'd be fine with it. I mean, I'm definitely going to miss Elfrid Payton's production on the floor, whatever that might be. But no, I think, at this point in time, as we've seen, we kind of are rich right now at center. Hopefully Ayton stays healthy. Biyombo looks like he can actually fill in. Frank might be coming back towards the end of the season. So and obviously we have McGee. So if we do lose Jalen for a trade, and he's been, producing lately, so his trade value's probably gone up recently. Yeah, Schroeder's a proven commodity of let's not make him a starter. Obviously, that was the problem. The Lakers thought he could take that next step. He can't. But could he work alongside Campaign sometimes? And especially when Shamet is cold, which seems like 9 games out of every 10, then yeah, I think Schroeder would be a good one. But although he's having a bounce back season, yeah, I think at the same time, if you look at his raw numbers, and granted it is the Celtics, they don't jump off the page at you. So definitely an improvement over Peyton. Definitely would want to have him for that. I think he would help keep Paul fresher in the playoffs, and that's going to be pretty critical. So yeah, for a straight up Jalen Smith trade, I'd do that absolutely.
What about you, Zona?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's two sides to it. He's obviously a better player than Jalen Smith. He's, taking a deal that allows he's probably the best player you can get for Jalen Smith just because of his weird contract situation. But then you look at the fit, and I'm not as high on it, just in terms of how he plays. Does he fit in the 0.5 system perfectly? No, but he did back up Chris Paul in OKC and had one of his best seasons there. And you could play him in 3-guard lineups with Chris Paul and Booker at times. But then I think this means Shamet is the odd man out because I think Payne, he's had a up and down season, but he's still going to be getting consistent minutes, I think. So if you're looking at a Payne Schroeder, reserve duo lineup, then I think that's probably the way they would do that. I think there's more pressing needs in terms of I'd rather get someone like a Eric Gordon, Terrence Ross, Justin Holiday if you're looking for offensive production. But if you're looking for I think their biggest need would be more like a Ken Rich Williams, Torrey Craig type, just to get that big four, or Robert Covington, as we talked about last week. But yeah, overall, I don't hate it as much as I did at first. I've kind of talked myself into it a little bit. I'd probably, it's not the first trade I do, but if they ended up agreeing to that, I don't think there's any chance they're going to re-sign Smith. So it's probably the best you're going to do on the short term.
Yeah. What do I think? Well, with Dennis Schroeder, you've got a guy who, as you guys were saying, was a good backup to Chris Paul a couple of years ago. That's absolutely true. It really, really is. However, that means he's taking Cam Payne's spot. Now, Cam Payne has had a bad first half. He's back to basically the efficiency of the guy who was not very good a few years ago, that played himself out of the league to an extent. I think Cam Payne has a better future ahead of him the second half of the year, but who knows, right? So Dennis Schroeder would be a guy who would take over. He would actually, that's the minutes he would take. It wouldn't be Landry Shamet's or Elfrid Payton's, because when everyone's healthy, Elfrid Payton doesn't get minutes. So that's what you're weighing. The other side of this is Jalen Smith's utility here. Now, he has developed over the past few weeks a real playable utility, and where the Suns have struggled is in rebounding this year. If they're gonna lose on anything, any of the matchups basically on the floor, they're giving up more rebounds because they're sacrificing it for 3-point shooting, right? Cam Johnson is a bad rebounder. Jay Crowder is a bad rebounder. Mikal Bridges, bad rebounder. And if those are your three forwards around Ayton, that's one of the, or McGee or Bismack or whoever it is, or Jalen Smith, they're going to get all those rebounds. Great. But that doesn't mean they're out rebounding the other team most nights. They're not. So now Jalen Smith gives you that at the 4, the ability to rebound, the ability to have a help defender defending the rim when Ayton's been pulled out with spacing by, the other team pulling Ayton out of the paint. Now you've got a Jalen Smith who could rotate in because he's guaranteed to be more closer to the rim now because Ayton's been pulled out. So there is that potential there. And he has shown that he's at least a little more playable than he used to be, Jalen Smith, at power forward. Plus, the Suns could go small when DeAndre Ayton is in foul trouble or out of the game for whatever reason. Right now, the Suns' only options are drop on every play JaVale McGee, drop on every play Bismack Biyombo. They're not going to defend on they're not even going to try to defend on the perimeter. And they're certainly not going to shoot 3-pointers to help spacing. Now, Jalen Smith can actually be a small ball spacer on shooting threes. And if he makes a respectable number of threes, at least he has to be defended, which is big on spacing and finding room for Devin Booker and Chris Paul to get their shots in the mid-range and other guys to get to the rim on cuts like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. There's a chance. So if the Suns are thinking about this year, I don't know, man. It's quite a toss up, but I'm just a fan of who we have now. I've always been a fan of who we have now. And so I'd rather just keep Jalen Smith right now. Dennis Schroeder is not the best locker room guy. Can you absorb that for 3 months? Yes, you can absorb that. The Dennis Schroeder is not going to break the Suns.
You have to get the buy-in before you trade for him, obviously. So I think with Chris Paul there, like, I think he could convince him. It's like, look, it's 1 year, less than a year, and you took a discount already. Like, we're going for a title. If you want a title, like, you just have to buy into this role. And if they can do that, that's the only way I'd talk myself into it.
Yeah, if you're on the comments in the chat, the most sticks or any acquiring team can offer sticks can make next year's 4.7 million. But the other 29 teams, whoever he doesn't finish the year with, can offer him any money. Now, what is the any money? I mean, a month ago we were thinking any money is he's lucky to be in the league next year. Now a month later we're thinking a lot more than 4.7, maybe. But he still is a small, undersized guy. I mean, he's not even quite as big. The biggest comp that I've been able to make with sticks lately in my own mind, I don't know how true it is, but the biggest comp I've been able to make in my own mind lately is Richaun Holmes to sticks. Richaun Holmes, his first few years in the league, was a little bit too small or considered too small to be a center. And he had a tough time with Philly getting minutes as a forward. And then when he comes to the Suns, he plays backup center to DeAndre Ayton for 1 year. And he played great. And that got him a chance to play for Sacramento. And now he's been really good with Sacramento. But even at his peak, at his apex, the best that Richaun Holmes can be as a 6'9", 6'10", a little bit too skinny guy, not a ton of offense, gets some blocks, tries hard. What was his contract this summer? $11 million a year. At his apex of his best that he could be. Jalen Smith, I don't know. I don't know how much money he can get on the open market, but it's not going to be huge. But what he's going to be looking for is a chance for minutes. Whether he can get that here in Phoenix, I don't know. It's possible you tell him, hey, look, man, take a 2-year, $10 million deal, stay with us for 2 more years, be Ayton's primary backup. The Suns could say that to him. And another team might make him their starter, whatever, and he'll take that. That's fine. The Suns can just spend the money on something else. So I'm not sure the Suns really screwed the pooch on this. I don't think Jalen's going to break the bank this summer, but we don't really know until we know, I guess. Holmes is skinny, Code JJM. He's skinny. And when he was 22 years old, 21 years old, like Jalen is now, he was as skinny as Jalen. He's got stick legs. He almost could have been nicknamed Sticks before Sticks came out. And
the situation is so weird too with him, because it's like, if you're a team that wants to trade for him and you give him those minutes, he's going to outplay what you can pay him. So that's why it's so hard for a team to trade for him at this point. Like, in terms of, you know, we're going to give this guy all the opportunity in the world, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh crap, like we can only offer him 4.6 million. So that's why it's just such a weird situation, unlike anything I've covered on the Suns, obviously.
Well, I know I covered I was covering the Suns when they declined offering Earl Clark a 3rd year, Kendall Marshall a 3rd year, and those guys weren't really NBA players. Jalen Smith has now proven he's a real NBA player. So it's funny for James Jones, because James Jones has to deal with the fact that he was right on draft night, basically. But the way everything worked out for Jalen Smith the first year of his career, James Jones even had to second guess himself by saying, I'm not going to guarantee his 3rd year. And now he might regret it. So let's talk about other trade rumors. Jalen Smith is obviously the biggest fish the Suns can trade. The other trade possibilities for the Suns are guys that no other team really is going to want. Dario Saric, he doesn't have a lot of trade value, guys, because not only is he not going to play this year until the very end of the year, and even then wasn't really a highly productive guy, he's on the books for next year. So a team won't be acquiring him to save money. They'll be acquiring him to have him in their rotation. And he's been out the last year, so he hasn't shown much. So he's actually not that tradable. And so otherwise, you're talking about trading big players off on the team. So I would actually, again, just like we did a year ago, focus more on the end of bench guys that you could acquire, back to end of bench guys you can acquire, like a Torrey Craig for cash. Jake Fischer did say that Torrey Craig is eminently available to anyone who wants to take on his $5 million a year. Hey, that fits Jalen Smith's contract. So it could be, and I think it's a second-year team option, I'm pretty sure, on Torrey Craig. So that you could swap Jalen Smith for Torrey Craig. Do you really want to swap Jalen Smith for Torrey Craig, for example? I don't know if they've talked at all, but I'm not reporting that they've talked. But would you swap right now Jalen Smith for Torrey Craig, Zona?
Yes, I would. And it's crazy that I had to think about it for a second, because if you asked me that question during the finals last year, I would have laughed at you. But that just shows how great the development of Smith has been. But I think with Craig, you know what you're going to get. And when you're trying to win a championship, you can't have any margin for error, and you need veteran players that you can trust, in the playoffs, which we saw from Craig last year. We haven't seen that from Smith. And I just don't think they're going to be able to keep Smith beyond this year. If he had another option or another year, I'd be talking about it a lot differently. But yeah, at this point in time, I think I would pull the trigger on that. Whether it's someone like that or, Robert Covington, like we talked about, Kenrich, whoever, those are the guys I think that they should target. And if they become available, then I think the Suns should do it.
What about you, Jake? Torrey Craig for Jalen Smith.
Yeah, no, I do this in a heartbeat too. I mean, we saw how Torrey can play with the Suns last year. I thought he did a great job playing with us. I'm seeing a lot of the commenters talk about, look at how well Jalen's played. Yes, and over a 5-game sample size, he's shown some production. But again,
it's more than 5 games. But
well, okay, was it 8 games that he actually got real playing time? Besides spot.
Yeah. Well, the last few, he's gotten playing time as a power forward. He got 12 rebounds on Friday night.
Right. No, exactly. So I guess my point is, we've got Ayton, we've got McGee, Crowder, Cam Johnson. He's not going to take any of their minutes away from him, or he shouldn't. And I get it. He's shown some flashes of good defense, good rebounding. But I'd rather trade him while his value's high, rather than not. And so somebody, I think it was Darth Voida, said, do we want to try and get a win now piece? I think absolutely. This is a team that's currently number 1 in the association. Now's the time to win. And as fun as it is to develop another player, we've got really young guys too. I mean, Ayton is young. We're already Ayton's set. He's our starting center. No, these guys all still get better and better with more time. So Smith at this point is the best opportunity to trade. I agree with you a little bit on Dario. I mean, because he's on the books for another year, you'd have to be looking at a team that knows they're going to be bad next year as well. That would be interested in a contract like that. But I'm seeing some people mention it in the comments. And so I just had to ask you guys, do you know who the worst shooter is on this team that gets regular minutes?
Campaign.
And regular minutes, I mean, more than 12 minutes a game on average.
Jalen Smith.
Dave, who do you got?
I'd say either Campaign or Landry Shamet.
Landry Shamet is shooting 38% right now, and he is the 7th man. He gets 20.5 minutes a game, just behind Cam Johnson. He shoots 36% from 3, basically just under 42% from 2. And I like Landry. I want to believe in him. I think he's got a good little contract on him that they got him to do for an extension. But when Booker goes out, which isn't going to be for a whole lot of time during the playoffs, I think, Zona, you mentioned an Eric Gordon type, somebody that can come in, do that kind of a secondary ball handling role, run some plays, and knock down some threes. I don't say we have to trade Shamet, but I think if there's now a weak link, I've kind of moved away from needing a power forward, and now I'm moving back towards kind of that combo guard somebody that can handle the ball a little bit better with Campaign, because Shamet and Payne are actually, they're both basically the two worst shooters that get consistent minutes. And one of them has to start making some shots. So I'm more on board with Campaign, kind of figuring it out, than I am with Shamet. So I would target 2 guards right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was very high on
Go
that
ahead.
backcourt. Those two coming into the season, and they've both kind of disappointed a little bit. I think I agree that Payne will probably figure it out, and he's shown some signs of like slowing things down a little bit lately. So Shamet has been probably the biggest disappointment. He's just a streaky shooter too. So he'll have these games where I'm sure in these, like this week, just to make us look bad, he'll probably, hit, 10 threes in the next like 2 games and kind of correct that shooting percentage, because that's just kind of the shooter he is. But yeah, I agree. I think their biggest weakness right now is just shot creation and getting to the rim, or just someone they can throw the ball to in that second unit outside of Cam Johnson, or occasionally Campaign, and say, go get a bucket. So to me, that is close to like the finding that like 4 or like rebounder that we've kind of set our sights on early on. But yeah, that's a good point on Shamet.
Joshua LeBrun says get Langston back if he becomes available. Well, first of all, Langston is working on 10 days this year, so he is eminently available, and none of the teams in the league want him. So I love Langston. Super nice guy. He was twice on the solar panel last year as a guest, and at least once, I think twice. Great guy. I love him as a person. I love him as a shooter. But if you guys are unhappy with Landry Shamet's defense, you weren't paying attention to Langston Galloway. The dude is half the size of Landry, and he was just a turnstile. So, look, if you're talking about defense, Landry Shamet actually is at least a spirited defender, and that's half the battle with playing defense. Here's what I think is that Landry Shamet is one of those guys. Do you guys know how old he is? He's barely 24. He's one of the youngest guys in the Suns rotation. He is going to grow. He's going to develop, and he's going to find his comfort level with the Suns and get better. I mean, if Jalen Smith can suddenly start looking like a good NBA player that might make $10 million a year, as people are talking, why would you say that Landry Shamet can't? I mean, he's still developing as well. So I think they know what they have in Landry Shamet. I think Landry Shamet knows what he has. And I think Shamet is going to find his way on this team in the second unit. I mean, this is what I'm thinking. Previewing the second half, I'm thinking that guys like Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker mid-range are going to come back to the mean in the good way, which is even better for a team that's still already the best team in the NBA as far as record. And they look like what they've been doing in the first half is they've been developing different options besides Paul and Booker for the playoffs. DeAndre Ayton looks like he's here to stay on his option of his turnaround jumper, his turnaround hook shot. Other guys are here to stay. Cam Johnson's here to stay. Mikal Bridges is adding to his mid-range game, and he's here to stay. It'd be nice if Landry Shamet and Cam Payne came to play and looks like they're here to stay. Looks like Dave is just chopping it up with his two sons.
I just started laughing.
Nice, Justin. F you, Justin. Yep, Uncle Dave is on with his nephews who love talking Suns. It is funny. I do get a lot of family members who want to talk Suns, and that's what it looks like here. All right, so here's the thing. Landry Shamet is a good player. Whether he ends up being great for the Suns or not is still up for debate. He looks like he doesn't have the killer, I'm going to shoot everything attitude that a lot of people want. Same thing is happening with him that happened with DeAndre Ayton. He doesn't have that killer attitude because he doesn't dunk hard enough. Now it's Landry Shamet doesn't have the killer attitude because he doesn't take all the shots every time he touches the ball. He actually passes. So we'll see. I think there's a good opportunity there for Landry to actually grow, and I don't think the Suns are going to give up on him. I really think what they're looking for is, do we have Jalen Smith as our fourth forward, or do we have somebody else in his place as our fourth forward? That's what I think they're focusing on. You guys got to go listen to our audio pod. Again, it's on our podcast feeds. It's easy to find, Sun Solar Panel. We have a whole 40 minutes with Jake Fischer talking about all the rumors around the league, what players are available, what teams are blowing it up, and there's other names that we didn't bring back up here today that he mentions that are available to anybody who wants them and happen to be making about the money that Jalen Smith is making and would happen to be a great fit on the Suns. Now, the two sides haven't been put together yet in any kind of rumors because we're still 4 weeks away from the deadline, 3.5 now. But that doesn't mean they won't. When a team makes players available and you make players available, sometimes you call each other and say, how about a swap, and see what happens, just like it did with Schroeder. Schroeder's available. But the Suns look like they said no, at least for now, on that one.
Dave, let me ask you, or excuse me. I'm seeing it in the comments, and I had to actually pull up to see if he's even being mentioned. But Kobe White, Mr.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Get him back with Cam Johnson.
Wow. Kobe can come in here and back up Cam Johnson.
I mean, hey, he could be. I would have him over Dennis Schroeder. I would make that option, and his contract is close enough with Jalen Smith's. If you wanted to throw in Elfrid Payton, because we wouldn't really need his services after that, I think that'd be nice. I don't know if the Bulls need more front court help. I think that's kind of been the knock on them, is that they need somebody besides was Vucevic, kind of holding it down.
We're the same fan base that thought Nikola Vucevic could be a good replacement for DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns should acquire him. We're that same fan base. So we're a little up and down. I mean, I wasn't in person. I was never against. I was never for that. But there's other things that I would have, right? But a year ago, Vucevic wasn't an all-star or a fringe all-star for the Magic, and it looked like he was languishing away on a bad team. He's just not that great, guys. We almost, some of you would have traded Ayton for Vucevic. But anyway, there was a mention of Terrence Ross in here. Look, I don't have anything definitive, but I've heard he's not great in the locker room. And proof of that is that he is the only one who wasn't traded from the Magic last year when they were trading for any assets they could get. So does that mean the Magic really wanted to keep Terrence Ross through a rebuild? Or does it mean that nobody wanted Terrence Ross? So this is, I don't know any specifics. I just know that he's not a guy that teams are dying.
You're missing an important point, though. He tweeted, if Kevin Durant is basketball God, then Devin Booker is basketball Jesus. So I think we have to trade for him. We're obligated to now. So
if you're looking for a more aggressive Landry Shamet, that's Terrence Ross. Okay, great, wonderful. Do you really want Terrence Ross taking shots from Devin Booker and Chris Paul and those guys in the lineup? I don't necessarily. So, okay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep talking about new rumors as they pop up. We're going to move to our next segment here because we're already almost an hour in. This has been fun. This has been a total fun. And I love engaging everybody in the chat as well. We're going to go to 5 true or false questions. These are supposed to be quick answers. You can have some commentary, but quick answers. Think fast. What's your gut? And I want you guys in the chat to be making your calls as well, and I'll read them out. There's a little bit of a time delay here, but I'll try to read them out even if we're on to the next true false. First true false. True or false? Landry Shamet right now is averaging 7.8 points per game. Landry Shamet finishes the year at over 9 points per game. Jake.
False.
Okay, you don't think he's going to go.
You want me to elaborate?
No, that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get there. No.
All right, Zona.
I'm going to say true, 9.1. I'm going to speak his surgence in the second half into existence. Would I place a bet on that? No, but I'm going to go over. You're going to go over out of belief.
I'm going to go over. I think Shamet finds his groove, and Monty. The Suns are so egalitarian with their offense. They already have 7 players who've played over 200 minutes this year, so you can't, not including Frank, who are averaging 10 plus points per game. And Landry Shamet and Jay Crowder are 2 of the ones who are under 10, and yet it feels like those guys could each go over 10 at any point. So I'd say that Landry Shamet will get a chance. So I'm going to go over on that one. Next, true or false? Cam Payne right now is shooting 32.5% from 3. A year ago, he shot 44%, and then in the bubble, he shot almost 50%. So but that's just a year and a half. For his whole career, he's below average on threes. Will Campaign finish this season, so he's got half a season to go, above league average of 36%? Will he finish above 36% league average this year, which means he has to shoot about 40 for the rest of the year? Jake.
No. That's. I mean, I think he's going to shoot better, but I think he's going to have to. It's going to be tough to go the rest of the way at 40%.
Zona.
It will be tough, but I'm going to go true. He's going to shoot 44% the rest of the way and bump it up just over. We need the second. I was very high on these two, Payne and Shamet, coming into the season, so I need to look smart. So I'm going to stick to my guns and just say they're going to have a breakout second half.
I feel like the Debbie Downer of this show now. Like, but
no,
you know what?
fine.
Cats and feline AIDS, it's a real thing. Boom, boom. Debbie Downer. Always bringing up things that people don't want to talk about.
Oh, man. Well, all right. C. Buxtabar in the chat says his form sucks. He'll never recover that much. Okay, he went a year and a half shooting 45 plus. And one of the best shooting coaches in the history of the game said once that it doesn't matter what your form is. It matters your consistency. If you shoot the same shot every single time, you can develop consistency and you can be good. But you have to have consistency. The guys who don't have any, they shoot a little bit different, even if it's a couple inches on their release. Inches matter. If it's a couple inches different on their release, they're going to be inconsistent. But if you get it the same every time, Campaign developed his consistency. He may have lost it in the first part of the year. If he gets it back, he can get it. Doesn't matter what his form is. All right. Next, true, false. DeAndre Ayton will start getting credit for all of his blocks. Zona.
False. It's never going to happen. I've given up at this point. We need to have a running tally of just how many he's lost, and just, someone needs to pay for this. Like, fire the statistician. I don't know who's behind it.
And it's mostly at home games. And I've seen it for 3 years.
Yeah, I give up. False.
Jake.
Switcheroo here. It's true. The Suns fan base is locked in on this one finally, because if you're watching a game and following Suns Twitter, almost immediately you'll find somebody go, now that's a block. They won't count that. And I think as long as that narrative continues to be driven, more people will be like, are you making sure that we're checking the boxes on all these blocks? So I think now that it's kind of seeping into, maybe Eddie Johnson needs to bring it up on, the live broadcast or something.
Yeah, the broadcast.
That'll help out. I think I'll start showing it more.
I'm going to say false, man. They've been doing it for 3 freaking years. I don't think they're going to stop. I don't get it. See, the thing with DA is his blocks are not JaVale McGee type blocks. JaVale McGee blocks are like swinging from the rafters, right, at the ball and knocking it 3 rows deep. DAs are much more in the line of, let's keep the ball in play just in case I can grab this rebound or one of my teammates can grab this rebound. DA keeps the ball live toward his teammates, like with some control more on his blocks than anybody that I've seen. That's to his credit, right? Because it's better to get to, because most blocks, all they result in is the other team still having possession with a side out. DA's blocks, the possession stays live. So I wonder if the statisticians are falling prey to that. I don't know. It's the same guys. I want to talk to him one time. I should go up and talk to him one time about that. But anyway, I think that's a false. Fourth true or false question. Monty Williams will coach the All-Star game. That means the coach with the best record at some point in late January, early February, coach with the best record in each conference gets to coach the All-Star game with his coaching staff. The Suns have now a 1.5 game lead on best record in the West over the Warriors. Yes, the Warriors got Klay Thompson back, but they're also 4-4 or 3-5 or something like that since the Christmas Day game. What do you think? Is Monty Williams going to coach the All-Star game, Zona?
Yeah, I think so. Just looking at their schedule and just like how well they've been playing and getting everyone back, it feels like they're going to hit their stride here soon. So I think he will be.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to maintain that. We had so many guys out, COVID protocols, injuries, and stuff like that, and they're all getting better. I mean, just looking at how Crowder and Ayton are playing now compared to when they first came back, I think we're only going to improve moving forward, and already we're number one.
Right. All right. Last true or false question. Devin Booker will pair his mid-range mastery with his three-point mastery this season. Zona.
I'll go true, but I have more faith in his mid-range coming back than I do the three-pointer staying at this point. I think he'll figure it out with the mid-range. He's been too good for it to not come back. Will it come with the three still being 40 plus? We'll see. I hope it is, but I'll say true with that caveat.
So you're thinking it comes back, but the 3-pointer drops a little bit. Jake.
Interesting. No, I think he'll get it to kind of perfectly sink in by the playoffs for sure. I don't know what changed this year from the last that it did shift so much. Maybe he needs to spend more time with Jenner or a little bit less. That shifted the dynamic perhaps the most, but otherwise, yeah, I think when he gets locked in the playoffs, kind of like Giannis, Dave, I tweeted with you earlier this week where the teams in the regular season that know they're going to make a playoff run, especially a deep one, will try different things. And last year, Giannis was shooting a lot more threes, and they were trying different sets because they were afraid of the defensive wall approach that teams would just throw up. And so they wanted to make sure that other players could kind of navigate that. I think that's kind of what we're seeing now is the Suns testing out some different strategies. Jalen plays the 4, can play the 5, and different players are getting different minutes. And so maybe I could very easily see Booker maintain the 3-point percentage, but really lock in and actually be focused and take more 2-pointers in the playoffs when kind of those clutch shots have to really start falling.
Stay Off My Grass podcast in the chat asks, why was Booker more efficient with Rubio than Paul? That's an interesting question. I don't know personally if it has to do with the point guard on whether he's like, because of Paul, he's less efficient. Paul has actually made players more efficient in their careers than less. I think it's been more about the situation and the pressure. And Booker's focusing more on closing out games, making all of his shots in crunch time. He's shooting 70% in the clutch this year. The Suns have been the best team in the clutch since the middle of last season by far. And that's what Booker cares more about. Whereas before he couldn't care about wins because they weren't getting any. And so he was focusing on getting to his spots, figuring out his best efficiency. That's a really good question though, but I think it's more circumstantial than reality. What do you think, Zona?
Yeah, I think one point that people are kind of like brushing off the side a little bit too much is his defense. I think this is the hardest I've ever seen him play defense. And
that's a great point.
Even last year, like we saw the leap, and even with Rubio, there was like a little bit, it just progressively got better and better. But I think this year, in terms of effort for regular season games, like I haven't seen him play and spend this much energy on defense like since I've followed him. So I think that could definitely affect the efficiency, and that's something to just kind of look at moving forward, because when you're spending that much energy on defense, it's going to come at the cost of the mid range, like we've seen this, or just your overall efficiency.
That's a really great point. The Suns were 20th or so, 17th, 20th in defense during the Rubio year, 6th or 7th last year, and then 2nd this year. And I don't know if you guys caught Rudy Gobert's comment this week trying to tweak Donovan Mitchell. Did you catch it, Jake? Rudy Gobert, I would read the whole thing, but it would take me too long to pull up, and I just want to mention it. But Rudy Gobert went out of his way to say, I watch these other teams. I watch Golden State and Phoenix lock in on defense. They actually care about defense. They care about keeping their man in front of them. They care about not getting blown by. And Devin Booker cares a lot more about defense than he ever did before. These last 2 years, watching him has been impressive. And I just hope our team can lock in like that someday.
Here's the exact quote. Devin Booker is playing his ass off defensively. Guys like that, they buy in, and you could tell they take pride in playing defense. Guys like
Yeah.
that. Donovan Mitchell liked the
Guys
tweet,
like
by
that.
the way.
His own team, and
Oh.
Donovan Mitchell liked it. Yeah. When it was shared on social. So Rudy Gobert, who is probably one of the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year yet again, might be getting a little tired of guards always blowing by his, opponents always blowing by his guards. And Donovan Mitchell. So to Zona's point on the defensive effort, Donovan Mitchell's having his best efficient season this year. The Jazz are playing their worst defense this year, and that may not be a coincidence because it's the other way around with Devin Booker playing his best defense, and the Suns are playing their best defense, and his efficiency has taken a bit of a hit. So if you put in tons of effort on defense, you're running through screens, you're running around screens, you're a little, you've lost a little bit of your juice. And what can happen is that you don't have you got to have your shot perfect. You got to have concentration perfect to make all of your shots because Devin Booker's a jump shooter. So that is savage. Jay Pizzo, Rudy is savage for that.
Like worst person makes a good point. Meme.
Oh man, there's so many reasons not to like Rudy as an opposing fan, but I like him for that, obviously.
Yeah, and if anyone's going to give you props for defense, who better than like the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year? So even though
Jazz fans were in shambles over that tweet. Yeah, so I don't know if Devin Booker's. I'm going to say false. I don't see him rediscovering his efficiency. He's going to have his most solid All-Star game of his career. He's going to make All NBA this year. I'm predicting it right now. Booker, if he stays healthy, if he doesn't miss half the year and gets disqualified, he is going to make All NBA this year. He's a very clean pick for All NBA, and that's partially because of his defense. And it doesn't mean he has to be the most efficient player in the game, or he would have made All NBA 2 years ago. So he's going to win more games, and they're going to have a nice deep run in the playoffs because of who he is today. So I think I don't see him rediscovering his efficiency to the level it was last year or the year before. All right, let's go to our fourth quarter. We're going to do a real quick preview of the upcoming games this week, and I'm going to have you guys predict the Suns' record in those games. They are all on the road. If I got it right, I'm pretty sure they're all on the road at Detroit, at the Spurs, and now I'm questioning myself. Are they at the Mavericks? They're at the Mavericks. Yeah, they're all three on the road. At Detroit, at the Spurs, at the Mavericks. Jake, what do you think their record's going to be this week?
That is a strong 3-0.
All right, 3-0. The Mavericks game is on TNT, by the way. And the Mavericks just broke the Grizzlies' 11-game win streak on Friday night.
Yeah, but Luka is afraid of DA. We all know that.
Yeah, we all know that. That's the thing. You can put DA on Luka. You can put DA on Dame Lillard in stretches. You can put DA on Nikola Jokic. How many defenders in the league can say all three of those and he can lock them up for periods of time? Or at least make it tougher.
Yeah.
And he even blocked Steph Curry's three. And Steph Curry, since playing against the Suns, he's had his worst stretch of games because he's got nightmares of Mikal and DA corralling him. But anyway, so you're 3-0, Jake. What do you say, Zona?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-0 as well. I do think, this weird back-to-back with Detroit tomorrow morning at 11, and then going to San Antonio due to like the rescheduling could make it kind of for a weird game in San Antonio. So that's one to look out for, like a trap game. We've seen the Spurs just for whatever reason just play their best against the Suns, like even in these rebuilding teams. So that's the only game. I'm more scared of that San Antonio game than I am the Dallas game, honestly. But I'll go 3-0 as well. I agree with Jake.
All right, I'm going to say 2-1, and Fabio says 2-1 that we're going to lose to Detroit. I actually think the Suns will win that Detroit game pretty easily. They're just a machine right now. Detroit doesn't have the horses to stay with them all game, and they already had an embarrassing loss a week ago. So the Suns have flushed that embarrassing loss of every second or third week for now. But I do think they're going to lose to the Spurs on Monday night for the same reason Zona just gave, is that's the second day in a row. They're traveling from Detroit to San Antonio in between, and the Spurs can be feisty. And DeJounte Murray is also making a very small all-star bid. But he's been really good. He's one of those guys you don't realize is a triple-double threat every game. So I don't know. I see the Spurs surprising the Suns potentially. That's the one they're most likely to lose, and then I definitely see them winning against the Mavericks because it's on TNT. Everyone's going to be on. Ayton on national TV is the best Ayton you can get. Against Luka is the best Ayton you're going to see. I really think that's going to be a very good game. So the one they're most likely to lose is Monday. Will they lose it? I don't know. But I'll just go ahead and I'll be the Debbie Downer here and predict 2-1.
Well, I think the Spurs. I definitely wouldn't take
I say David Downer. Why didn't I say Debbie? Anyway, go ahead.
I wouldn't play around with the spread on that game. I think the Spurs will keep it close, and so I don't think Suns minus the points would probably make as much sense. But who's the center? I can never pronounce his name, but
Jakob Poeltl.
Poeltl, thank you.
Yeah.
He kind of gave Ayton and the Suns a little bit of trouble in the past, and there's games where all of a sudden he's just like, who's this guy again? The Spurs might have somebody with them, but I think that I'd predict a close win, 3, 4, 5 points victory. But I think otherwise double digits against Josh Jackson's revenge game, as Fabio points out. I think we'll crush them by double digits. And Mavericks, I think we could run away in that game as well.
Yeah, in the Detroit game, Jay Pizella in chat says, take a look at Jeremy Grant and see if you'd rather have him than Jalen Smith. Here's the thing, though. I'm sorry. Would you rather have him than DeAndre Ayton? Because Jeremy Grant makes $20 million a year for the next 2 years. So he would have to come back if there was a sign-in trade this summer for Ayton. And you just tell me after watching him for a game whether you'd rather have him or DeAndre Ayton starting next season. But we've got the bearded Debbie. C-Bucks nice. Cam Johnson is a day-to-day on his ankle. I got a couple questions in here about Cam. It's not like the others where they've just called them out for 2 weeks and then questionable. He's already questionable for return. So I expect him to play at least one of the games in the next 2 games. He might come back for Monday, so he's not doing back-to-back on a sore ankle or something like that. I can see that. I can see that's my best prediction is he's going to play Monday, and then going forward, he's back in the lineup from there. But playing back-to-back on an ankle that's recovering from a turn might not be smart. So we'll see, unless he's completely feeling good. All right, so that's our prediction for the next week. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play a quick video for you guys. I need you guys to stay. I need you guys to pay attention. We have Brightside Night coming up. I have a special offer for you, and I want you guys to listen. There's a ton of you in the chat right now watching this program, and a bunch more, hundreds more are going to be watching through the next few hours. 1,000 of you are going to be watching by tomorrow. Here's the deal. You will be entered if you donate to Brightside Night, and if you follow the instructions here on this video, you'll be entered into a raffle for great tickets on top of whatever you get because you donated, because we already have deals for people for their donations. But even if you only donate $11, you could get 6th row seats. You could get 11th row seats. That's all you got to do to enter this raffle, and you'll have a really great chance because any kind of donation drives, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but they don't have thousands of people donating to them. You're relying on the donors who really care, and you got to do a little give back. So that's my give back this week. You donate today or tomorrow, but just do it now. You'll be entered in a raffle, and if you donate more than $11, you'll get guaranteed stuff back. Please pay attention to this video and do a donation, and then we will see you guys next time. Let me just find it here. Where'd you go? Oh no, I don't have it queued up. Hold on. Okay. Zona, tell us where we can find you around the internet.
Before we get to that, I'll just stall for a little bit for you here. And next Saturday, Torrey Craig and the Pacers come to Phoenix. Go to that game, give him a round of applause if he's not already on the team by then. Give him a nice little standing ovation. And you can find me at ZonaHoops_ on Twitter. And shout out to Jake for joining us today. Where can we find you?
I met Coach Fallen Founder, and my quick little deal is I kind of tired of all the Suns fans saying trade Dario. I'll say this about Dario: he shows up at just about every game, and I don't know if everyone else saw it, but and maybe it wasn't even a real deal. But there was some young gal that was a diehard Dario Saric fan that started a massive tweet thread that people were liking and retweeting about how she wants to meet her favorite player, Dario Saric, got her through some tough times. So I tell you what, I like seeing a guy that's injured still show up, support his team, be that good locker room presence, and that's why I think that the teammates and the coaches still speak so highly of him.
All right, folks, I'm ready to play. Thank you so much, Jake. We can find you at Fallen Founder on Twitter. Me, you can find me, Dave King NBA, on Twitter, as well as brightsideofthesun.com. Please watch this video and donate. Just need one more minute of your time. Being at a basketball game is such a rush. Screaming at the top of your lungs, high-fiving the person next to you, enjoying that last shot by the Suns. There's no better feeling than that instant camaraderie you get with thousands of other Suns fans at a stadium. We at brightsideofthesun.com and the Solar Panel Podcast are proud to give that game time experience to new fans every year. We call it Brightside Night. We donate game tickets to targeted groups around the Valley who've never had a live game experience. Over the past 5 years, that's been underprivileged kids. We've sent over 10,000. This year, we're focusing on healthcare heroes and first responders who put their lives on the line to save others. Now, we want to give back to them. Let's thank them with tickets to the February 16th Suns-Rockets game. All it costs you is $11. What you get out of it is not only the satisfaction of helping somebody, but also of getting something for yourself. You're either in a raffle at the very least, or you get gifts, you get goods, you get tickets, whatever it is. You make a donation, you also get something out of it. Go to suns.com/brightside. That's suns.com/brightside. Brightside's one word. Make your donation now. It only takes a couple of minutes and you're not even going to miss the money. That's one of the proudest accomplishments of my life to do this, and I hope it's going to be one of yours too. That's contributing to Brightside Night is a huge deal. That's suns.com/brightside. Hey, big shout to Darth Voida for putting that together for me. I very much appreciate you. You are the best. And you guys, I'm looking forward to your donations, and you can get free tickets, extra free tickets on top of everything else you get. All right. Love y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy your time, and we'll be talking.